Yeah, we have been defensive all year, and that looked premature, shall we say? But we do believe that markets are likely to continue to correct. There was a massive influx of liquidity globally from the central banks, particularly led by China and the U.S., less so in Europe and Japan. I think that liquidity propped up stock prices to levels that they probably shouldn't have gone to. Lots of leverage in the system. I think you were just talking about a lot of that reversing. The problem with reversing leverage is you don't get to sell what you want to sell. You sell what you have to sell. And the fact that the only thing that's kind of hanging out on the positive today or yesterday was gold is pretty telling. You know, one of the challenges we have to deal with is we have to denominate our investments in some asset, and we usually use the U.S. dollar or the euro or the yen. When you look at the markets over the last decade, rather than the fiat currencies, but in the global central bank balance sheets, they're dead flat. And if you denominate in gold, they're dead flat since 1996. So there's a little bit of a money illusion going on. So low volatility or low volume markets in the summer are always treacherous. What I'm actually more worried about is the fall, when people realize that the growth isn't going to be as robust as people had hoped.
Mark, what we saw yesterday, the forced selling, always a good point to remind us on. But I want to talk about the catalyst here, because on this side of the world, some were saying, was it Boris Johnson? Did he spook the world around the rise of this Delta variant, but at the same time opening up the economy? Almost counterintuitive. To what extent do you think it was the strategy that we witnessed around the UK, where it has been an experiment for the world? And let's face it, many people are hoping vaccines will get us to some sort of end game around the virus. But yet we're seeing infections rise here, even without the extreme rates that we've had earlier in the year and earlier on in the crisis. Was it around what was playing out here in the UK, or do you think it was more of a global story than that?
I think it was a lot of different things. I think you bring up a really good point that there was certainly some overreaction globally to the fear around the quote unquote Delta variant. You know, I think the challenge for the virus issue today is that we have the wrong standard, right? We have this standard suddenly that there should be zero infections, that we should somehow eradicate people getting sick, which never happened over thousands of years, probably not going to happen in the future. So the idea that any uptick in cases is something to be really concerned about doesn't really make sense to me. I think you had a lot of reaction to the OPEC agreement over the weekend. Oil prices fell pretty dramatically. That led to, again, some forced liquidations. And I think it's just a cascading effect. And actually, the real issue for me is there's nobody at work. This is really an amazing summer where everybody was, itching to get out. They have a lot of people on vacation, really low volume in the markets. And when you have low volume and big headlines, you can get some nasty moves.